For pretty much forever, we've been sold this idea that to make a difference, to get ahead, you've got to be loud. But what if that's just wrong? What if some of our greatest powers are the ones we find in the quiet moments? So let's dig in and unlock the completely misunderstood power of introversion.
Okay, so picture this. December 1st, 1955. A soft-spoken woman named Rosa Parks refuses to give up her seat on a bus. Now, she wasn't some loud, fiery speaker. People who knew her called her quiet and mild-mannered. But her one-word act of defiance, no, came from such a deep, unshakable conviction that it became the spark that lit a revolution. Her quiet strength was, in its own way, totally unbeatable.
And that story, it really makes you stop and think, right? Our whole society seems built to reward the loudest voice, the person of action, the one who jumps in first. But what if the kind of power that actually changes the world doesn't come from a shout at all? What if it starts with a quiet, steady belief?
So how in the world did we get here? Why does our culture seem to be obsessed with loudness and charisma? Well, the answer actually goes way back to a huge shift in how we saw each other.
See, back in the 19th century in smaller towns, what mattered was your character, your integrity, your honor. People knew you. But then, millions of people flooded into big cities. You were working with and competing against total strangers. Suddenly, the game changed. It wasn't about who you actually were on the inside, it was all about how you came across. The salesman became the hero, and this new culture of personality took over.
I mean, you can practically feel the anxiety jumping off the slide, can't you? All of a sudden, everyone was an actor on a stage, terrified of messing up their lines. And of course, advertisers jumped all over this new fear, warning you that you were being judged constantly. And conveniently, that their product was the only thing that could save you.
And here's another one that just nails it. It was this total shift. It wasn't enough to just be a good person or be good at your job. You had to look good doing it. You had to sound charming, and you had to make a killer first impression. The spotlight was always on.
And then, to top it all off, this new social anxiety got a name, the inferiority complex. Suddenly, being shy or quiet wasn't just a part of who you are. Nope, it was a medical condition, a problem that you needed to cure so you could keep up in this new perform or fail world.
But here's the thing. That whole cultural story, it just doesn't line up with the actual science. So let's pull back the curtain on that myth and take a look at the real, hidden strengths of the introverted mind.
So, when it comes to solving problems, introverts and extroverts take completely different roads. Extroverts, they're often the ones who dive right in. They're quick, they're action-oriented, and they're really motivated by potential rewards. Introverts, on the other hand, tend to be more deliberate. They'll look at the maze from every angle before they even take a step. They stick with tough problems longer and are less likely to get caught up in that deal fever that leads to bad decisions.
Okay, check this out. There was this incredible study of over 600 computer programmers, kind of like a coding Olympics. They wanted to find out what separated the superstars from everyone else. And the #1 thing that predicted who the top performers were? It wasn't money, it wasn't experience. By a long shot, it was privacy and the freedom to work without being interrupted. For deep, complex work, quiet is an absolute superpower.
And we're not just talking about being good at puzzles either. Take leadership, for example. Research shows that introverts can be more effective leaders, especially with teams that are full of proactive go-getters. Why? Because they're more likely to listen to and empower their team's ideas instead of just imposing their own. They absorb information, and their cautious nature helps them see risks that the overconfident might just blow right past.
Okay, so it's clear introverts have these amazing superpowers. But how do you actually use them in a world that is constantly screaming at you to be somebody else?
Well, this is where a really cool idea called free trait theory comes into play. And the concept is actually pretty simple, but it's a total game changer. It says, yeah, we're all born with a certain temperament, but we can choose to act out of character, like an extrovert, when it's for something we care about deeply, something that's a core personal project for us.
So how do you actually do this? It's basically a 3-step playbook. First, you have to know what your core projects are. What do you love so much you do anything for it? Second, you find moments to act extroverted in service of those projects. But that third step, it's the most important one. It's totally non-negotiable. You have to find restorative niches to recharge your batteries.
And a restorative niche can be literally anywhere. It could be closing your office door for 10 minutes between calls. It could be slipping into the bathroom stall at a loud party just for a moment of silence. It's any place you can go to be your true self and refuel. Think of it like a strategic retreat.
a quick pit stop to recharge your energy so you can get back out there when you need to.
So all of this, it brings us to this really powerful new way of looking at ourselves and our place in the world.
Look, the big takeaway here isn't that introverts need to somehow force themselves to become extroverts. That's exhausting and it just doesn't work. The real secret to life is just to put yourself in the right lighting. For some people, that's a massive Broadway spotlight, but for a lot of others, it's the quiet, focused glow of a lamplit desk. And both are perfectly okay.
At the end of the day, being an introvert isn't a weakness. It's not a deficit. It's a key. It's a key to a private garden, one that's filled with creativity, deep thought, and incredible riches. The trick isn't to wish you had a different key, but to learn how to unlock your own door and use the power you already have.
That power of persistence, of deep focus, of real insight, it's already in you. You have the key in your hand right now. The only question is, what are you going to do with it?